20 years. 20 years of industry experience, all sorts of industries. I worked in chicken plants. I worked in software companies, in hotels and restaurants, in aerospace and aviation. But all along, what I've really been looking for is a few very special people. I've been looking for people who really don't care, who don't care about doing well, who don't care about excelling, who just want to come to work and be very average, who don't mind losing. You know, the kind of person who comes to work and says, I'm here today and I'm going to screw up, and I really don't care. I've been looking for these people for 20 years, and I've really not found very many. Well, that's not why I came here to this TEDx, hoping to find some, but I might as well ask all of you. Anybody here who'd like to be an average Joe, an average Jane, just an average person, very mediocre? You, maybe? Or you at the back there? I see a few backbenchers. Anyone? I don't see very many. We all want to win. We all want to do well. Each one of us. Don't we? We have big dreams for ourselves and our lives. And when we start to achieve those dreams, we dream bigger. We want to achieve great things. Make the most of our life. Make an impact in this world. And so we work hard, don't we? Try and get into the best universities. It's called the University of Waterloo. Yeah. Get good grades, do good co-ops. We do all of those things. Manage our online social media profile. Yeah? But here's the deal. I'm sorry to break it to you. The vast majority, despite so much ambition and caliber, and despite all this hard work, there are only a few that truly excel. Only a few people really get to their highest possible potential. Think about it. Think about people that you know. Think about the people that you consider to be great. I've asked this question of hundreds of people around the world, and it's the same few names that keep coming up. It's the Bill Gates. It's the Elon. It's the Gandhi. It's the Obama. It's the Rihanna and the Gretzkys. Well, what about everybody else? This is the question that I want to ask you all and talk about today, is why do only some achieve their highest possible potential? Why not each one of us? Why could we all not get to there? To answer this question, I look back at my own work over the last 20 years in all these different organizations all over the world. And I also look at the research that I have done into high-performing organizations. And guess what I see? The exact same trend. Every organization wants to do well. Every organization works hard. They try their very best, and yet the vast majority of organizations are stuck in what I call a bubble of mediocrity. Unable to break through, break out of that. Their performance from day to day, just very, very average. They progress, though ever so slowly. Just unable to break out of that very average performance. And yet, in nearly every single industry, you find a few, not necessarily one, a few organizations that stand head and shoulders above their competitors, that deliver outstanding results. For their customers, they deliver superior products and services. For their employees, they deliver an engaging, safe place to grow, place to learn. And for their shareholders and owners, they deliver superior financial returns. At the same time, they are good corporate citizens and stand for what really matters to society and to the community that we live and work in. Only a few organizations truly excel. So I wonder if there are a few lessons that we can learn from these great organizations and maybe do the things that they do. After all, organizations are but a collection of lots and lots and lots of people. What are these people doing that sets them so far apart? And maybe we can learn a few things from them and bring them into our own lives. Maybe? Think about it. Think about organizations that you respect and admire, that you think are great. I've asked this question to literally hundreds of people around the world, and it's the same few organizations that emerge again. I'm sure you all have a few names in your head. Guess what? They're probably all exactly the same. Here's one. It's called Backrub. Backrub wasn't the first. In fact, I'll argue they were probably the last. An internet search engine. Yahoo was already there with a cool sounding name called Yahoo, as was Bing and Ask Jeeves and a whole bunch others. Late to the game and showed up with a name like that. How did they go from that to celebrating their 25th birthday this past Wednesday? This is where they are now. $290 billion company. $70 billion in revenue, in profit, 145,000 employees, one of the best, most admired companies in the world, one of the most valuable companies in the world. By the time I finish speaking to you, they would have run 100 million searches globally. They own 85%, it is estimated, 85% of the global internet search market. This is their performance over the last 13 years. Nobody can touch them. Compare them to everybody else. There's Yahoo and Bing and everybody else. They're all trying hard. Nobody's even close. Nobody can touch them. How do they do this? There's got to be something special they do, don't you think? The exact same thing we see in a whole bunch of other organizations. I'm going to take you into the world of commercial aviation for a moment. This is a fascinating industry. Commercial aviation, all airlines are exactly the same. 100% the same. They all fly, guess what? Planes. And these planes are all exactly the same. And guess where they fly from? It's a place called the airport. And guess where they're going? To another airport. Same routes. Exactly the same operating conditions. The exact same way. How they maintain them, what they do on the ground, what they do in the air. The same pilots, the same in-flight crew, the same seats, even the seat belts are the same. The instruction on how the seat belt is closed is exactly the same. How much more standardized can this industry be? Don't you think? They all have poor service on board. They're all late. They're all exactly the same, except one. Except one. And that organization is called Southwest. Southwest in the United States, one single organization that stands head and shoulder above their competitors. Let me tell you a little about them. Over a 20-year period of time, pre-pandemic, they were the only airline in America to have a double-digit growth in number of planes, number of seats, number of passengers, revenue, and profitability. They've been profitable every single year for 70 years straight, pre-pandemic. Rated number 1 or number 2 in customer service. Rated the best place in America to work in the travel and hospitality industry. How do they do this? Despite having 30% less aircrafts than United, than Delta, and American Airlines, yet they make more money than United, Delta, and American combined. You want another statistic about them? This one's going to hurt you all. If you had $20,000 in the year 1950, oh, you weren't here in 1950, right. So if your parents had $20,000 in the year 1950 and they wanted to invest it for your education, and they invested half of it, $10,000, in any airline, nearly any airline in the world or any airline in North America, and the other $10,000 they invested in Southwest, do you know what would have happened to your first $10,000? The $10,000 invested in any airline in the world would be exactly equal to 0. All airlines are bankrupt. Never invest in them. As Sir Richard Branson, the founder of Virgin Airlines, very famously said, and very wisely said, the fastest way to become a millionaire is to start as a billionaire and open an airline. But what would have happened to your $10,000 that you invested in Southwest? That today would have been worth $26 million. You wouldn't need to be here. You could spend the rest of your life on the beach. How do they do this and nobody else? You have similar stories from organizations like 3M, like Coca-Cola, like Unilever, or Bayer, or Apple, or my favorite of all, Toyota. But I'm not going to talk about them today, otherwise we'll be here till tomorrow morning. The basic is this, though. There are some organizations that do really, really exceptionally well. Can we learn something from what they do and bring that into our lives so we can excel? Here's what I have learned through my study and my work in these organizations. From the ground up, the very first thing, great organizations choose to be great. Excellence is a choice. It has to be intellectually and deliberately made by leaders and by team members of the organization. This will not just happen. You have to choose to be excellent. Everything else then in your life is subordinated to that. That's where the journey starts for every one of these organizations. A few years ago, I had the opportunity to work with the management team in Qantas. Qantas is the national airline of Australia. I remember that Monday morning when I arrived there and we started a week-long retreat with the management team. The CEO stood up, and the first thing that he said to his management team was something that I was told later he repeats all the time. It's a tradition in Qantas. They start every single week by reminding themselves, we're the oldest flying airline in the world, he said. I Googled it immediately. He was true. He was right. November 1920 is when they started. And he went on to say, we bring Aussies home. That's our work. We bring Aussies home, and we've never lost one on the way. Not in the air, not on the ground. And he went on to add, and sure as hell, it's not happening under our watch. A conscious choice that they made to be the safest airline on the planet. There's nobody that comes close. There's not a single airline that's been flying for even 50 years that can say that. Not a single fatality. Not one. They've never lost an aircraft. 100%. How do you do this? It's not a wish. It's not a dream. It's not just a goal. It's not just something you say, but you mean it. You make that choice. Everything else is subordinated to that. That's how excellence is achieved. So I ask all of you today, have you chosen? Have you made that conscious choice? The conscious choice of being excellent, where nothing but excellence is acceptable. I think it's time. It's time that you do, each one of us. Only then your journey starts. From that point on, there are 3 practices that great organizations do. And you see them consistently in every single one of these organizations. The first is they measure themselves. Every single day. A scorecard to measure themselves. Not at the end of the month, not at the end of the quarter, a couple of times in a year, every single day. To hundreds of employees walking out after a long, hard day of work. And whether it is a factory worker, a call center agent, or a doctor in a hospital, I have stopped employees and asked them, how well did you do? You've been working here for 8 hours, 10 hours today. How well did you do? How well did you deliver to your customers? Do you think they know? I asked this of doctors. How many mistakes did you make? How many people needlessly died in your hospital today? They didn't like me very much for asking those kind of questions. But you don't even know. You've got to start by measuring how you're doing. Sam Walton understood this. He was the founder of Walmart. He started with one small convenience store in a small town called Buttonville in Arkansas. 20 years later, 25 years later, when he died in 1992, he had over 2,500 stores all across North America. And he had started up a revolution in the retail space. Nobody competes today with the $600 billion of revenue that Walmart does. But how did he do it? Every single morning, he wanted to know, how well is my organization doing? What are my sales? What are my returns? How many holes do I have? Holes on shelves where product has run out. How long are people waiting to check out? How many abandoned carts do I have in the stores? He would want to know every single morning. He would meet with his management team at 6 o'clock and would want to know these metrics. 6 o'clock every single morning. Do you know what every single morning means? It means Monday morning and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday and Saturday and Sunday. Except that on Sunday he would say, let's meet at 9. We can all sleep in a little. Great performers, great athletes have scorecards, don't they? I have a scorecard. It changed my game. 12 years ago, I built a balanced scorecard for myself. I have KPIs that I measure for myself. Without this, how do you know you're progressing? Or are you just stalled in midair? How many of you know how well you're doing? What are your KPIs? What are your metrics? How's your health? How's your mental health? How's your stress level? What's the quality of your work? How productive are you? How much are you learning? What's your financial situation? Do we know where we are? How do we expect to excel when we don't even know where we currently are? Maybe it's time for us to start doing this. The second practice. Every great organization understands the need for brilliant process. Brilliant process. Simple, effective, efficient process. This is how work gets done. If you don't have process, you don't have a standard. Anything goes. You can do whatever you want. If you have no process, you cannot improve. That's the brilliance of process. Great organizations understand this. To give you an example of this, I want to invite you all. Well, tonight we have dinner here already. But I'll invite you all one day to a restaurant company that some of you may know about. Maybe you've been there already. It's a restaurant company called McDonald's. They make burgers. Lots and lots and lots of burgers. Right? And they are probably the largest burger manufacturer on this planet. To be the largest must mean you must have really good burgers. Don't you think? The best burgers? Yes? Well, many will argue that not really the best. In fact, I'll say quite mediocre. Right? Quite mediocre. However, I think most of us will agree that their burgers are exactly the same. Very, very, very consistent. Very constant, consistent mediocrity. There is no hope of getting a brilliant, perfect burger at McDonald's. We're quite happy with that, aren't we? Yes. So you must think that to make that number of absolutely consistent hamburgers, 18,000 restaurants across North America, 40,000 restaurants worldwide, making 500 million burgers, they must have the best chefs. Only if you have a degree in burgerology can you apply, one would think. On the other hand, they're powered by tens of thousands of high school students. The best place for a first job, I will contend every single person should work at McDonald's before you get a high school diploma. The best place to start your career. These students can't get to class on time, can't hand in their assignments on time, can't clean their rooms, never cooked a meal at home, and yet can somehow get together, collectively put together the perfect, very mediocre Big Mac. Every day, day after day, day after day. Processes are brilliant. We all need process. Do we have process? Processes are, you see, high-performing individuals have processes, athletes have processes, researchers have process. Firefighters follow process in a very, very disciplined manner. Musicians follow process. Their habits, their routines that they build, that's what allows them to get to their highest possible level. No process, no excellence. Do you have process? What are your habits? Do you have habits, even to do the basic things in life? How do you ensure you have good processes to fuel your own body with good, nutritious food, to recharge yourself with rest and relaxation and rest and sleep and relationships, to oxygenate, to hydrate, to meditate, to simplify your life. How well do we do this? Remember, just like organizations, you will not rise to the level of your goals. You will fall to the level of your habits and your routines. Even Aristotle said, 2,300 years ago, the ancient Greek philosopher said, as a human being, you are what you consistently do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit. And the third, nothing great in this world is achieved without passion. And passion is not something that comes from the mind, it comes from your soul. It comes from deep inside you. For each one of us, to find something that is meaningful, bigger than ourselves, in the contribution of the world around us, of mankind and of future generations. This is what organizations, great organizations, understand. They understand that their people's excellence will come from doing something that truly, truly matters to them. 70 years ago, 2 priests in a small church in California, they had a vision for the world. This vision was that no child should go to bed hungry. No child anywhere in the world should go hungry. And it was with that mission, it was with that vision that they started World Vision. Today, 70 years later, World Vision raises $3 billion every single year in sponsorships and in donations. They serve over 100 million people, 3 million vulnerable children in over 100 countries. 35,000 employees work for them. I work with them in Kenya and in Ghana. And the passion of these people is unparalleled to any other organization I have met, working in very, very difficult circumstances, with so little resource, and yet they were driven by the fact that they knew that the children will need us, and that we were these children's only hope. Have we found what really matters to us? Have each one of us found what is really, what do we really love? It's time for us to do that. Find what you really love, what really matters. Okay? And let it be you. Let it drain you of everything. Let it cling onto you and bear you down. Let it kill you and eat you up. This is how excellence is achieved. This is how excellence is achieved. Okay? 3 practices. Measure yourself every day with a few simple goals that'll tell you how well you're doing. Start to build brilliant, simple routines. Because what you measure is what tends to improve. And if you have simple process, your simple process will allow you to do less, but accomplish more. And go find something that you have truly found meaning in. Your work is your life's sacred mission. And we're all very, very fortunate to be living in the times that we are in today. Today, anything is possible. We are bound only by the limits of our own human imagination. If you can imagine it, you can do it. You are powered by technology and the rapid advancement of technology. You have the connectedness with the entire human society. And you have access to all human knowledge right in your palm. You can truly achieve anything you want to. Each one of us today, more than ever before in human history, is possible for us to achieve excellence. But first, you have to make the choice of excellence. Thank you.